It is my pleasure to bring you our next speaker, Ilker Akansel, a community strategy consultant with a two-pronged specialism with communities of developers and tech and traditional brands, startups and innovation. Hey, Ilker, he's like, where are we going with this? Being the first and then the second of these two-pronged is talent, future of work, digital nomadism, and remote work. My areas as well. Love it. He supports the former of these through his own community strategy consultancy at ilkeransel.com, and the latter through his founding partnership at TalentLed Community Consultancy, which is the first of its kind that focuses on talent communities. He is here to chat with us about unearthing your professional community niche, even from the unlikeliest of places, sponsored by Cisco. And with that, Ilker, you've got the baton. Take it away.
That's just wonderful. Thank you very much. That's my reputation precedes me. What an
Can't hear
introduction.
you.
Fantastic. And hello. And it's so great to see you all. And I do have a presentation up. I believe that should be coming up right now. And this is it. And hopefully it shall move when I get to that particular part of the screen. All these peculiarities of online events and online meetings, which you may already know. So hello, and welcome to my session. And in the next 20 minutes, hopefully I shall be telling you my thoughts and my angle on how you can unearth your community niche from the unlikeliest of places. But before everything, I would like to do a Richard and then to go back to the times of the pandemic. So during the times of the pandemic, which none of us probably is wanting to remember, because there were all these restrictions and everything, I had the idea of just buying one of these ungodly contraptions of things, which are the treadmills, so that you can exercise at home. And I contacted one of the companies that were actually selling it. And it turned out that, unlike some of the companies that you might know, especially in the US and the UK, that are community-based, these people, this manufacturer, which was a worldwide, brand of its kind, did not have a community of, just runners or users or, just, exercise aficionados and everything. And, one thing led to another. And then, we had an hour-long conversation with the sales manager. And eventually that just, followed to a conversation that just went further down the line in creating their first communities of sorts. And that actually inspired me to talk to you today. So you can actually you have community everywhere, but also everything can be community, and you can actually extract a niche, an opportunity from the unlikeliest of places, which is what I'm going to be talking to you today. So because it's a shortish talk, well, shortish by my standards, certainly it's a great thing to start with the definition. So what is a niche? Is a narrow and yet deep area of expertise or specific experience, specific expertise, or a mode of operation. And this is quite important because it's actually the mode that you deliver things, where you can utilize your unfair advantage. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that one within the next few minutes or so. So my argument is that finding and concentrating on the right niche as a community professional is a great way to ensure your credibility and to create and expand a line of community business, which hopefully you're all here for, to listen to my angle on particular side of things to obtain that advantage. So this again, from another angle, it was inspired by a book called The Unfair Advantage by Ali Hassan Kuba. I first heard about this book on Ali Abdal's YouTube videos and podcasts. He's a bit of a YouTube sensation in the UK and worldwide about productivity and other things. And it's a very intriguing concept, this unfair advantage. It's, at first glance, it does sound unfair, but I do believe that because all of us, each and every one of us, has actually got an unfair advantage of our own, just like, X-men, X-people, or whatever you want to call them. certainly we can actually utilize that towards finding our community niche and then becoming a better community professional. So hear me out on that particular thing. Let's define it first, because when you first hear it, it actually raises a few eyebrows. It is unfair advantage, and it is called that way because it is a condition, asset, or circumstance that you have that puts you in a favorable business position. Simple as that. And of course, in business, in community business, of course, the unfair advantage is a unique selling proposition that competition just cannot match. So it's very important to define the boundaries of an unfair advantage as well, because the first time you hear about this word, you just immediately start thinking about maybe unethical things or illegal advantages or some nepotism or some some shady arrangements that you might actually have with with some certain entities and people. It's none of these things by definition. And it's not competitive advantage. It's not like you're competing with people and you're trying to find ways of doing things slightly better than your competition. It is a unique thing that pertains to you, that it belongs to you, that certainly nobody else cannot actually, anybody else cannot actually replicate. And we all have it, and we are all in possession of this particular unfair advantage, which we can utilize towards a value in the community business, towards discovering our niche as well. So because each and every one of us have it, it's just only fair that we just explore it further on how we can unearth it. So in this particular field, there is one really cool quote from Akash that I've pilfered from his Twitter. Community professionals don't need to be field experts; they become the experts. And you can think about the community builders as a cats, if it fits, as the cat would actually just try and fit itself into some some places to sit, some containers, some little, even the smallest of things. They do sit. So what we do as community professionals is that we build and scale community if they align with the product, service, and the value offered to members. So basically, we don't need to be the experts to be to consider something to be our niche. We can actually just learn it. What we're experts at is to build the community, and that's why we need to discover our niche and discover our forte through our unfair advantages. I'm going to come to that. So Ashali and Hassan Kuba came to put together a framework to discover your unfair advantage, and this is something that we can utilize, and we can sort of just look at under the light of community building. So what is this unfair advantage structures framework? It's called MILES. So M stands for money, I stands for intelligence and insight, L stands for location and luck, E stands for education and expertise, and S stands for status. So I'll just go through these a little bit more, but I'm going to try and see if I can just put an angle on community building, and I can try and see if I can start an inward journey amongst my dear listeners to try and see if any of the things that I will suggest will actually become an unfair advantage, and then eventually the niche. So explaining a little bit further, this is what we would call the unfair advantage elements and examples chart, in a way, where the money is the advantages on the money end of the framework is the ability to minimize expenses, learning core skills, fundraising, and side projects and things. So intelligence and insight is, of course, being a book smart, street smart, having great people skills and creativity. Location and luck is, of course, being able to be at the right place at the right time. And of course, there are things like luck and serendipity. Education and expertise, as it says, is the knowledge, networks, and credentials, things that you have in that front, the application, experimentation, access to mentors, and all sorts of other things. And status is, of course, is more about yourself, the cultural, social, outer, and inner, factors on the status bit. So moving swiftly on. This is how I've structured the rest of the conversation. So I'm going to try and see if I can light, two different lights in your head. So when you're, hearing my interpretation of this particular framework as we're, embarking on this journey towards a niche, I just want you to think, first of all, these as advantages that you might actually obtain, you might actually have, or you might actually exploit yourself to become better at your business. But of course, by themselves, they also offer, the ability to, to obtain these advantages, unfair advantages, also offers a way for you to come up with a niche where you can basically just turn it into a business advantage of sorts. So if we start with the money on the Miles framework, we're talking about, in the community business perhaps, some unfair advantages that may lie in accessing capital, because without capital, it will be very difficult to start or scale a business, or a community business, or a community project, so to speak. So if you have access to or connection to organic ecosystems such as local, national, or regional support mechanisms, just like EU funds or regional investments or some continental investments, or some different schemes like places for Africa, North America, Europe, or other things. So if you have access to these specific things, these could become your unfair advantage in both as a niche where you can just become a community professional specializing on those, or you can utilize that advantage towards any community project that you may embark on. This is my thoughts on this. So capital access opportunities based on personal attributes like age groups, like DEIs, and all sorts of other things. And opportunities offered by non-profit institutions that may have a different way of handling capital and community success. So they operate differently than for-profit institutions. Therefore, it's an opportunity, it's an advantage that you can actually work on. And of course, being in the radar of community-focused investment institutions is always a great thing that you can actually utilize. So that's like one. How about some intelligence on the I bit? So intelligence would be the possession of an elevated level of community intelligence, being a community content worm, which is what I'm trying to be always, and an avid consumer of community thoughts, journeys, cases, outcomes. It will always, put you forward in terms of, the community business, and of course, the niches that would come with it. So being conversant in as many community as matters as possible, and a vision to be one of the leading thoughts providers of the niche of choice is a great unfair advantage to have. And certainly it is something that you can utilize towards future projects. And having an ear-to-ground approach, which I'll cover a little bit more, is another great thing that you can utilize towards this particular unfair advantage, and of course your niche. About insights, what would be the insight? The ability to figure out, apply, and lead with community insights. So I love this saying: talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target that no one else can see. So if you're going to be competing with other people to, with other, let's say, professionals in certain niches, it's one thing, but if you can uncover your own, is the greatest asset that you may actually have. So the ability to formulate own novel approaches by thinking multilaterally and standing on the shoulders of giants, i.e. building on, whatever's there, and then just, coming up with something, unique and interesting, is a great advantage. And certainly the ability to ask the right questions to come up with a relevant insight and solution is a great superpower. As I've always said, a problem well-defined is a problem half solved. Not just me, of course. It's an age-old saying, but certainly it really works all the time. About the location, we're at the L. So it could be seen as a disadvantage, but today in this well-connected world is becoming less relevant and more of an advantage by the day, actually. So if you have the ability to repurpose location towards creating opportunities, just turn it around, work on expat communities, or work with communities where you have language barriers, where you have an advantage, where you have some inroads, or work on distributed communities of practice or interest, work on local community needs or alumni communities. These are all the advantages that you can actually bring in with the location disadvantage, seemingly, that you might actually have. And of course, the ability to capitalize on geographical arbitration. So living in somewhere where, costs are low for setting up business, for doing anything. And of course, where you are earning money is much higher in relation to those costs. That is geographical arbitration. So you can turn the location into an advantage in engagement negotiations when you're actually working on projects, or if you're really good, you can take it out of the equation completely. How about luck? Luck is always seen as preparation meeting opportunity, and you can increase it by leveraging your optionality, which is the anti-fragility concept of Nassim Nicholas Taleb. So Things like, high mobility options. So if you can be anywhere, if you can move, if you have the flexibility, it's just great. Your ability to set permanent capacity aside for business development is a wonderful thing. And certainly, if you can develop an ability to super learn concepts, super connect people, and super quick read opportunities, if you have that ability, that is just an absolute wonderful unfair advantage for you to have, and also to exploit as a niche. And of course, the much overlooked, simplest of unfair advantages in luck is the ability to listen, reconsider, and change your mind. This is really fundamental. Sometimes we get really, really stubborn about some of the things that we're pursuing. So being able to listen, analyze, and change your mind is a wonderful thing to have, in my opinion. How about the education? We're at E. These may apply both to past and ongoing education efforts. A lot of people put a lot of emphasis on this, but I believe that it is becoming less and less relevant, or perhaps it's becoming, it's becoming a multi-level thing, because it's not just school where we're getting our education now. It can be anything. So specialist knowledge and perspective gained during education is always good. Things like engineering, language, or access to some deeper studies in management or things like that. Some credentials always help. Specialist titles, accredited degrees, PhDs, academic recognition and standings. And of course, the physical advantages of the institution that you went to is, of course, great. It's like networks, things like, the location that it's actually it's sitting in. And of course, the other attributes of the institution, like reputation, accreditation, ranking, alumni, mentorships, those are always good things to work on. Not by itself, it could be like an addition of many different things. But certainly, if you can use this towards your advantage, please do. And about the expertise is about it is the community expertise that it plays a leading role, but other specialist expertise could be just as important. So your community industry expertise is very valid, but other cross-industry expertise, don't discount it. It's very critical in believability and understanding needs of the industry, members and sponsors. So whatever industry you've actually been in, it's a wonderful thing to have, and certainly it is a niche that you must consider very, very seriously. And of course, soft skills directly related to community buildings, like people leadership, conflict management, and ability to rally people around initiatives. If you've done that before, it's a great thing, certainly for you to have as an unfair advantage. And finally, access to top-level mentorship and expertise networks as a result of your expertise, of your specific expertise, is just simply golden. And status is the most difficult to separate from the dark side, and I'll come to that. So culturally, the affinity with local issues and opportunities is great. Possibly, it gives you interesting ways of tackling them through community. Social, of course, use your network, use your connections. It's a given. And in terms of the outer sides of the status fair advantage, things like your professional and personal reputation, perception, influence, presence in the industry, and others, just use them, utilize them, just turn them around. Fantastic things to work on. And inner status advantages are, of course, things like confidence, self-esteem, professional discipline, attitude, demeanor, integrity, genuinity, and of course, things like storytelling abilities is just a great thing. One thing before I sort of go. Practical application of an unfair advantage is ear to ground is something that I try to do, what Tim Ferriss calls enormous informational advantage. Trends and opportunities follow strategies, interest, investments, and profits, and these are usually set ahead of public release. So if you develop a habit of following such developments and acquiring skills in your industries of interest, and try to follow the car ahead of the car in the front in the traffic, it would be a massive competency and presence in advantage in your niche before others. Just one quick example: investment follows strategy, strategy sparks niche. So Volkswagen investing in a new auto strategy, earmarked around 16 billion euros for investment in the future trends of e-mobility, hybridization, and digitalization up to 2025. If you put 2 + 2, it is a wonderful niche for you to consider, ahead of everybody else if you follow the news. It's not an investment advice, but things like next generation mobility technologies, traditional industries not massively disrupted, things like logistics, construction, waste management, sustainability is a great thing. And of course, AI is something that you really need to keep your ear on the ground. Regulatory changes, they create new niches as they force companies to change, and different markets will harbor different opportunities. And tap into conversations, exploit related barriers to entry, do your homework for these changes. Some more things like sustainability, ethics, privacy, DEI, mergers and acquisitions, remote and cross-border work, and of course, generative AI and other things. Finally, on the home stretch, unlikely opportunities for community projects. As we all know, everything can be a community, and it just absolutely everything. Some of my favorites from the internet: there's an ice chewing community, there's a carpets for airports community, there's a counting community where every member is just adding one more. My favorite is, of course, extreme ironing, which is the danger sport that combines the thrills of an extreme outdoor activity with the satisfaction of a well-pressed shirt. Every time I pick an iron, this is what exactly happens. So I just wanted to make you smile on that one. And my final thoughts: every organization can benefit from a community. Be an avid advocate of community building, provide indication of value, and certainly the meter is running is not a well-received acquisition approach. Develop a habit of giving before receiving, and patience of a saint. You can always relaunch an existing community. And of course, a failed community building attempt can always be turned around. Those are wonderful things for you to, exploit as future niches and opportunities. As I want to, just, bow out on this presentation, your unfair advantage is your niche. Your niche is your unfair advantage. And it would have been really, really bad if I didn't, put this in this presentation. Search your feelings, and it's true. A bit like that, if you want, of course. Which film and which particular niche this actually belongs to. That was me. Thank you for listening to me, and I really hope that you liked what I shared. And I'm always, happy to continue the conversation with you on this particular subject or anything community related. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ilker. That was awesome. Love the lightsaber. That was out of nowhere, but I'm living for it. Love the spontaneity. There is not time for questions allowed, but they are in the chat. So there's 2 questions, at least from me, that are in the chat. I'd love to get your response to, but thank you so much for your time and energy and your lightsaber. Love it. That should be in every single presentation you do. See you on the airwaves, Ilker. Love it. Oh my God, I love it. Awesome. See you later, Ilker.
Thank you.